And I sincerely believe that what is going to deliver us to victory in November is the fact that there are everyday hardworking people in this state who believe, who believe, who believe that they deserve a voice in our government too, and we're going to give it to them. What we're also going to do over these next several months is we're going to make clear to the rest of the world that the dark days that we've been under coming out of Washington, that the derision and the division that has been coming out of our White House, that right here in the state of Florida, we are going to remind this nation of what is truly the American way.
Good morning, y'all. That was Andrew Gillum, the once promising and rising progressive star that came to national prominence in 2018 as a gubernatorial candidate in Florida. Much the media darling. The media, especially on the progressive side, they love to give the label to their rising progressive champions as rock stars. Beto O'Rourke was given that title. Drawing these huge crowds, relatively speaking, I should say, huge crowds against Ted Cruz, so on and so forth. Barack Obama, the rock star, and now Andrew Gillum was the media darling there. He was a very progressive mayor of Tallahassee. Before that, he was a city council, I think, from 2003 to like 2014, so about 11 years. And then he served as a mayor. He was a student activist, I believe a chairman or the president of some organization. We'll look it up here in a minute on his Wikipedia page. So the guy was extremely ambitious in terms of politics and made early connections. I believe he was even featured in Ebony magazine as a rising leader, the 30 rising leaders under 30. I believe he was 23 years old when he held his first office there in Tallahassee. But what is interesting, before we get too into the main subject here, is, as far as I know, I was trying to look up what his actual professional record is. Aside from being a city council and then on to mayor, he's amassed about $350,000 personal wealth, which I guess relatively speaking, he's not what we'd call rich or wealthy, but he certainly isn't doing bad. And I can't really find, and I haven't really looked as hard as I probably should, but because I don't really want that to deviate from the main subject here, is he has gotten quite a savings, and I think he has a $480,000 home. And you just kind of wonder, with all these politicians, how do they make their personal fortune on what is publicly disclosed salaries? I believe his mayor, as a mayor, his salary was $79,000 per year. He couldn't have been making, 50,000 at least. City council probably less. In any case, you wonder how these guys that are just multimillionaires, their wealth doubles. Like when these congressmen and senators, it's like each election year they're after a series of elections, say 6 as a congressman or 1 full term as a senator, you see their personal fortune almost double from, it's disgusting if you take the time to go back and look at this. But what we're going to talk about here specifically about Andrew here was what all intents and purposes and descriptions was a gay tryst with a known female, or excuse me, male prostitute who also moonlights as an escort. And there he is. I guess if according to Andrew, a lovely hunk of a man, somehow planned a rendezvous. Looks like a third person was involved. If this third person gave our friend here his credit card to set a room up as a rendezvous point for Andrew Gillum. So what's going on here is it was a rent-a-man. It's clear. They weren't hanging out. They certainly wasn't throwing back a few brewskis and and having a night on the town with the ladies. This was a pretty cut and dry arrangement. If you're going to go to an escort site, you have one thing in mind. And so here we have Andrew with uh, a gay escort in a hotel room. If you don't know the story, the third man who gave Dyson, who goes by, what was his name? It goes by Brody Scott as an escort. His real name is Travis Dyson. He gave Travis Dyson his credit card to rent the rooms, probably so Andrew wouldn't, Mr. Gillum here, former mayor, couldn't be traced back to the room. Well, unfortunately, during their chemical induced sex tryst, they had a little too much fun. It looks like there was methamphetamines involved. I'm sure there was alcohol involved as well. From what I've read, meth is a sex drug, especially popular among the gay men. Obviously, you know a little bit about meth. It gives you, superhuman qualities. You're able to go stay up longer, party harder. Alcohol doesn't tend to have the effect as it would if you weren't on meth. So what I mean by that is you can drink more alcohol and consume just vast amounts of quantities of it without it really shutting you down. It's not particularly healthy for you because you still are taking in alcohol. And beyond a certain limit, you start running into the problem of blood alcohol poisoning, certainly liver damage, so on and so forth. But from what I'm told, or from what I've read rather, the crystal meth seems to um, lessen the effect of what alcohol has, but you still get to enjoy all the benefits of alcohol, right? So in any case, um, the man comes in later that evening. It's like 11 o'clock at night, bangs on the door. Travis Dyson makes his way to the door, opens the door, lets the third man in, which we'll find out his name in just a second. Actually, it's here. Aldo Miaz. Lets Aldo in. Aldo walks in. Travis then turns and collapses on the bed in a prone position, really never to rise again. Was unresponsive, had trouble breathing. Aldo does a sweep of the apartment or the hotel trying to figure out what's going on. He finds Andrew Gillum naked, butt naked, in the bathroom, puking his guts up. Uh, Suspected drug overdose. That's one of the first signs of when you ingest something, whether it be alcohol, pills. If you have too much of it, that's your body's way of trying to rid yourself of this foreign toxin, trying to purify yourself so you keep you alive. Um, but you can only puke so much, and if the puking doesn't alleviate the levels of whatever toxins in your body, you go to shutdown. Your body will shut down, put you to sleep, which is what happened to Travis. So your body can then go into repair mode and keep you alive. It lowers your heart rate, lowers your capacity to breathe. It just takes all the essentials out so your organs can work overtime, so on and so forth. That's why you see some people use the restroom on themselves when they get to this state. Your body is doing everything it can to get this stuff out of you. Start sweating profusely, so on and so forth. Well, that's exactly what was happening to Dyson here. Travis Dyson, aka Brody Scott, male escort, male porn star, so on and so forth. Again, so Mijas gets in, tries to resuscitate Travis. Dyson cannot get him to respond. Then he notices that Travis is having trouble breathing. He's actually starting to shut down, as I was just describing. I read somewhere that Aldo here is an unlicensed physician. So perhaps he practiced medicine in the past. I'm not sure. I haven't really dug into his background, but I did read that he was an unlicensed physician. So right then and there, if he was a physician and trained, he knew that he had a few moments um, to act. I'm sure he was weighing the possibility of causing this. Well, what has now been released here. This is Gillum in a terrible situation. Um, but he acted quickly, and he knew that he had to, or there was going to be some dead bodies in that room. So it's one thing to be thoroughly embarrassed and it's another thing to to have a death associated with this. I'm sure he tried to get Gillum to get dressed and get out, but as we'll see here in a little bit, Andrew Gillum was unresponsive himself, or at least to the point he couldn't even communicate, couldn't take instructions, and just really laid out, just wasted. So in any case, he calls the EMT. EMT shows up. Obviously, they get on the situation and try to revive him as best they can. I'm sure they give him oxygen, and they wheel him out of there. Cops show up. So now we have Andrew. These cops have body cam footage. Now, especially when they come to a situation where it could be a potential drug overdose, 2 drug overdoses, you know there's going to be recordings of this. There has to be. There's got to be meticulous notes. Now, this is about 1 a.m. by the time the cops show up. Now, I want to tell you something that's very interesting to this story. And that is 3 police captains showed up for a drug overdose of two men in a hotel room. Why would 3 police captains, high-ranking captains in charge of divisions, departments, so on and so forth, be waking up out of bed when they're a 9 to 5 job or a 7 to 5 job, whatever their work schedule is? But typically, captains do not show up on 1 a.m. calls. That's what your detectives are for. That's what your homicide detectives are for. Narcotic agents and narcotic officers, so on and so forth. So the word was Andrew Gillum was associated with. 3 captains show up. From what I've read from Candace Owens on her Twitter page, and we can go to that in just a bit, she had some pretty good inside sources. She's the one who really broke this about this Travis Dyson. The media was just saying that, oh, Andrew got caught. He was partying a little too hard. Him and his bro had a few too many brewskis and passed out in the hotel room and may have drank too much. Well, shit, that happens every other weekend for a lot of us. Typically, you get over it. You don't have to call the cops unless you had way too much. So we knew something was up with this. She has some contacts on this that's associated with this story, whether it's media sources or cop sources or both. But she's the one who broke this, knew the guy was an escort before the media was even willing to touch this. Again, they were trying to say it was just 2 friends, Andrew and his buddy. Not the case at all. So we've caught the media already trying to cover this up. Body footage supposedly shows blood and feces on the bed. Now, that typically is, from what I understand, with no experience whatsoever, that is a byproduct of obviously homosexual sex or anal sex. Unfortunately, I have to be descriptive in that point. And there was crystal meth found on the bed. I think it was 3 bags, 2 on one bed and 1 on the bed in which Dyson was found. So the cops are recording this. They have to take this for investigation. They said that the contents of the bags were believed to be crystal meth, but they haven't made any determination on that yet. I'm not a cop, but from what I understand, they can test that stuff pretty quickly. It's just a kit. If you have an expected drug overdose, and that's what the call is, why would you not test it? I've also found some other reports saying that they're taking the contents of the bags for destruction. Cops either keep stuff for evidence when it goes to court cases, or they destroy it. They don't want it, out recirculating to the public. But in a case like this, when you have a man who's overdosed, why would you not collect that as evidence? And secondly, why were no arrests made? They let Andrew leave. Andrew Gillum was left on his own recognizance and said that, oh, I was out here for a wedding, and I just had too much to drink, and I just want to thank the cops for showing up. My friend partied a little too hard, and this was just a big misunderstanding. And the media is leaving out a lot of details. You have to kind of go to some sources, a layer, let's just say a layer deeper than what your mainstream sources are. Again, and it takes independent journalists to really crack this open for what it deserves. Now, the escort has actually spoken to the media Travis Dyson a little bit, and he said he had no idea of a wedding. There was no wedding. This was an arranged meeting, um, and that he's actually known Andrew Gillum since last summer. Interestingly, though, it's 2020. Um, Andrew was running for governor 2018. He's been a CNN analyst since, and a progressive champion and so on and so forth. All the media buzzwords that they like to lay on these, for someone who's going to continue the legacy of Barack Obama, it's sainthood almost to the left. It's actually hilarious watching them kind of fall over themselves, um, uh, covering for this guy. In any case, here we go. Gillum was unable to communicate with officers due to his inebriated state, according to the report. Dyson rented the room on behalf of a third man, Aldo, meaning that way our friend here, our good progressive champion, couldn't be traced back to the room. And this is Andrew's, Mr. Gillum's here's official statement, and I'll let you read it, and I can read it out loud. Uh, I was in Miami last night for a wedding celebration when first responders were called to assist one of my friends. Bear in mind this was Thursday. I'm not saying it's impossible, but most weddings don't take place on Thursdays. While I had too much to drink, I want to be clear that I have never used methamphetamines. I apologize to the people of Florida for the distraction this has caused our movement. Now, see, that's a little, let's just say a dog whistle to the media. That's his saying, "Hey, pals, look out for me. Help me cover for this. Our movement." That's a signal. It is. I'm not trying to get silly here, but that's how they communicate with one another. That's to let you know our movement. People rally around that. Again, go back and read the write-ups of this man, and especially after he lost. It was blamed on racism and suppression, voter suppression, and so on. It had nothing to do with he was just up against a better candidate in Florida, and they didn't want a Bernie Sanders light, Obama knockoff as the governor of Florida. He had some pretty wild progressive ideas, a lot of things that's just really flat out impossible. Whether you are a progressive or conservative is beyond the point. I'm simply saying the promises that these guys are making to really separate themselves um, from the other side, to give an illusion of a choice, right? I think that's why some folks run so far left and other ones run so far right. It's to give voters a distinctive choice. But what it really does is separate you from the norm, and that's exactly what happens to a lot of these progressive candidates. And in his case, that's probably what finished him. But he barely lost the election. I mean, it was just a smidgen, a few thousand votes. So I'm assuming he's a dynamic guy, probably well schooled and well coached and put together. Just a great walking marketing campaign, and has been schooled to the point that he thought he was going to be a governor, and that's what he was running on. He's been doing this since he was a young man, 23 years old. So in any case, let's go here and I'll show you the Wikipedia write-up on this. Let's do that right now, because I just want to show you some of the differences here. Here's Andrew. There's his lovely mug. In office, 2003, so I was correct, to 2014. He's 40 years old. His wife, let's hope that he's got 3 children, and he's got his wife here, married since 2009. Graduated from Florida A&M, I believe, in Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. He's got a bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Arts. No law school, nothing like that. Trying to figure out what he has done in terms of a professional tenure outside of holding elected office. Doesn't look like much. Here we see some of the corruption and misuses of funds while he was in office. He was part of an FBI sting. There was definitely some taking of favors from lobbyists when he traveled abroad. He didn't report certain gifts. This is typical behavior of those who espouse one thing and actually do another, kind of like Bernie Sanders and his four houses, and his distaste for billionaires. Meanwhile, he's a multimillionaire. Again, Bernie's never really had a job of any significance outside of being a senator. Somehow the man has amassed a fortune of several $1 million, and also to the tune of owning 4 homes. Here's his gubernatorial election. He lost, was it 4,042,000 which is 49.6 to 49.2. So you can see here that this was DeSantis' vote total to Gillum's vote total. So you can see it's a very close race. Very, very close race. Wow. And again, there's a lot of racial tones to this. It's always going to be, it's a go-to card. It's a go-to play, especially when it comes to what is obviously a black candidate against a white candidate. Furthermore, one being a Republican, another one being a progressive Democrat, and then of course the media building him up as continuing the legacy of Barack Obama, and really touching all the bases in terms of what is deemed important on the progressive cause here. Political positions, I don't think we need to go much more into that. His professional career, again, very light. I just don't see a lot of professional experience outside of just being elected. Like I said, he's definitely active. He spearheaded a program to unite elected officials age 35 and under network, which supports them with leadership, personal development training, and public policy support, so on and so forth. Honors and accolades here, 2004, Ebony Magazine's the fast track 30 leaders who are 30 and under. He was awarded that, or I guess it's a prestigious, somewhat prestigious award, I guess, within the black community. It's just a way for black Americans to sort of identify their rising stars. The emerging leader of the year during the Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative conference in 2007, Gillum was named 2020 emerging leader by Essence magazine. I think it's another black publication. So on and so forth. Gillum was also named 50 Young Progressive Activists. Again, progressive, got to make that connotation there, that notation, I should say, that differentiator. Not only are you a Democrat, or a liberal, but you're a progressive activist. That gives you, makes you almost a monk, practically a sainthood, and that ever so strange ideology that's kind of taken a life of its own over the last 10 years or more. In any case, the Washington Post also gave him an award. But if you really want to see some of the glowing stuff, just do a Google search and go back and read some of the things that has been written about the guy from 2017 to 2019, and it was just a travesty that he lost. And it's amazing how the media can build you up, or I should say, builds people they approve up and destroy others. To my knowledge, just to give you an example of this, to my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been a politician alive who has captured the crowds that Donald Trump has captured. 30, 40, 50,000 people, crowds outside whatever arena. Yes, I said arena. He doesn't just fill rooms and buildings. He fills entire arena like it's an SEC football game. I mean, you want to talk about a rock star? That's a rock star. But rarely will you ever get to hear that. It's really just, like I said, the media kind of controls the narrative, or they used to. They're not doing it so much as now. The old model that journalism and certainly mass media operated on was the idea that the few speak to the many, right? What I mean by that, there's only so many journalists and so many media personalities, so there were few, and they determined what the narrative would be. They determined what truth would be. They determined what sort of information we would get, not only what we would get, but how we would get it. Meaning it would run through their filters. So it was few to many. Whereas now, with social media, with a lot of independent journalists, and really people just fed up with the old model, now it's many speaking to many. And you can sort of distill what can, unpack what is the official narrative. And this is what I want to show you, the official narrative. This is what would have gotten passed off, and worked for decades. The Tallahassee Democrat reported that Gillum was one of 3 men, one of whom was suffering from a drug overdose, who were found with plastic baggies of suspected crystal meth in a hotel room in Miami Beach on March 13, 2020. Initially, Gillum was too inebriated to speak with the officers. According to the news site, no arrests were made. That's it. That's all. Sounds like a wild night with the guys had too many brewskis. And there may have been some crystal meth that we'll never know because it doesn't look like the cops are going to test it. This is horseshit. This should really bother you. Especially when you can go to memorandum.com, and I'll pull that site up. The far-reaching accusations that the media churns out like it's just industrialized histrionics. And then to just lay a dud like this when we know so much more makes you wonder. Let's go here. Let's go here. I want to show you. So, as I said, it's called chemsex. I opened up with that a little bit. The meth is, it's big. I don't think it's making a comeback. I don't think it ever really left the gay community, as far as my readings on it. They call it chemsex. Again, you mix crystal meth, alcohol, and testosterone or the male sex drive, and this is what you get. You get a increased libido, staying power, and all the wonderful things that men enjoy. I suppose just most of us don't enjoy it with other men. So here we go. Dyson booked the room around 4 p.m. on Thursday. Mijas gave him his credit card. Again, we've established that. He comes in the room around 11 p.m. Dyson enters the door, quickly passed out on the bed, was unresponsive. At that point, Gillum was vomiting. We've already spoke of this. Yes, here it is. He's an unlicensed physician. We can track that link down. Yes, the Florida Intercept report. I guess they found his public records and so on and so forth. At this time, the incident is not being investigated as a criminal matter. Miami Beach police spokesman wrote an email releasing a copy of the police report. The media spokesman will explain why. Again, you have the crystal meth is a felony. The possession of it, the use of it, the distribution of it are all felonies. You have what is obviously 2 individuals who are sick of something, whether it be alcohol, meth, other drugs, or all the above, and it's not being treated as a criminal matter. Second of all, to be caught with a known prostitute. Imagine yourself going to Vegas and you find yourself in a room and you get yourself a nice call girl. She brings over drugs. You both do the deed. There's evidence that the deed was done from semen or whatever on the bed. And then you have drug paraphernalia laying out. Let's say the hotel guests hear the vomiting and the moaning and they're concerned. They call the front desk. Front desk calls the cops. Cops show up, find you passed out butt naked on the floor, vomiting all over yourself. They find the hooker face down in the bed in her own vomit, can't move, can't talk, is unresponsive, can't breathe. And oh, by the way, they find drug paraphernalia laying everywhere. Guess where you're going, buddy? You're going to jail. And your mugshot's going to be publicized, and your friends are going to be posting that crap on Facebook and so on and so forth. And then you're going to get busted for not only drugs, but solicitation for prostitution. She'll go to jail as well, pay a fine on that part, but you're both going to be in trouble for doing drugs. I can tell you right now, the drug paraphernalia would have been tested by the kids in the responding officer's car. They would have found out quickly that it was methamphetamine, and then your fun just begins. But not in Miami, not when you're Andrew Gillum, and not in Florida when you're a rising star. And the powers that be will cover for him. Now, his political career is likely over. Hell, I don't know. Maybe the progressives will celebrate this as just assigning him out there living his best life. You know, I don't know what they'll say, but I believe he would probably take that trade-off, political career over, versus doing jail time. And then, you know, let a few years go by, you know, come out with some public statement about how you know, you've changed, and you know, you've always been a Christian, which is a weird thing. Also, progressives are now seen as, or at least portrayed as churchgoers, and now they can, and that's for a that's really a strategy, a tactic, actually, to combat the religious right. So now, since they're in church as well, or they say they are, they have some moral authority on what religion should mean, or theology should mean, or what the Bible should say, or how God would view this, and or how Jesus would would understand this. And we've seen that from Booty Jag, right? However you pronounce his name, Booty Gag, Booty Jag, whoever. I mean, he really hit on that religious thing. Barack Obama did too in 2008 and 2012. Not so much in 2012 as he did in 2008. But you know, these progressives. They're some church going folks here recently. This meth fueled drug uh, Tryst reminds me of that pastor out in what was in Colorado. I forgot his name, but he got busted with the male escort. Hell, I think the male escort turned on him because he didn't like the way he was portraying gays in the media. He was caught with meth and gay escorts, and the media really pounced on him because he was part of the religious right, part of that Saddleback Ranch community of what's his face down in Southern California. This guy was kind of an offshoot of that out in Colorado. They really they pounce on this stuff. They love for this stuff to happen. But here we see on the left, you really can't get much information on this. You have to really dig. Somebody has to do the work that the media should be doing. Now, this isn't just some flyby uh, news organization here. I mean, it's not the NBC or Washington Post, but these guys have sources. These guys are doing what any journalist could do: go and get the public records. Anyway, he just wants to apologize to the people of Florida for the distraction this has caused our movement. Just give me a fucking break. Um, so Dyson, I guess he has a criminal background, vehicle infraction last year, driving recklessly, drop charge for non-violent resisting arrest. I mean, that, you know, it doesn't sound like he's a violent person, but he has a little bit of a blip on the radar in terms of what cops know about him. At least he has a record they can track. So here's some things about these, what we get so far out of reporting. It deceptively reports that Dyson's Instagram account features selfies in scrubs and medical coat, because he's a registered nurse, from what I understand. The page also features numerous photos of Dyson shirtless and rippled on the beach, on boats, and at night spots with friends, including his fiance. Well, not really. He is clearly has provocative uh, pictures as advertisement to his gay services, whether it be a gay, well, he calls it a gay massage, but that's for to, well, you don't want to publicly and just outly say, hey, I'm open for, you know, sex for pay, sex for pay. You certainly can't do that. So gay massage is code word for, yeah, you get the point. So here's Candace Owens. To her credit, she releases this report from the police, but unfortunately, I think it had some personal information in terms of maybe some addresses. So she pulled that page. She didn't, I think about it had some phone number down. She didn't see that when she posted it. She definitely pulled it though. But clearly, this is what we have. Involved in a crystal meth overdose incident last night in a Miami hotel. Orgy suspected but not confirmed. Here's the page that Owens removed because it had an email. Honey Hammock, honeyhammock@gmail.com. Yeah. Yeah, that looks like Aldo's email address. It has Travis Dyson and Gillum here as well with his looks like his residence. I'm sure that's why she removed that, plus the email. You don't want that out there. In any case, so here we go. His resume includes a short stint in the military, online gay porn star, and he's a gay escort via a website called Rent Men. You can pull this down and verify that he is in fact on there. according to Tower Low Daily Mail, which provides a slew of Dyson's pics. Dyson's Instagram's handled linked to his rent profile men while he was going by Brody Scott. He's obviously he openly identifies himself as a porn star, a gay porn star, and he offers gay massages. There's also multiple online pornographic videos of Dyson and his boyfriend slash fiance were posted to that site and even to Twitter. Apparently, this guy's a fucking degenerate. He makes money off this crap, and you know, I guess Andrew was good for it and liked what he saw and decided to order him. Again, this isn't the first time because according to our hunk here, he's known Andrew since last summer, I believe June of 2019, from what I can tell. But this stuff has been deleted, and he's tried to clean up any sort of connections to this lifestyle and how it would affect Gillum. Again, we know that Gillum was supposedly at a hotel or at a Thursday wedding, which again, not saying it's impossible, but highly unlikely. And he also went to the Woodham the wedding alone without his wife traveling with him. So again, here's Andrew relating to the what her sources are saying. Again, sources, unnamed sources. I understand a pinch of salt, but her sources are actually revealing things that have been further verified by a little bit of from the web sleuths getting out there and verifying this and correlating it and curating it, validating it, and publishing it. So far, her sources have been spot on, and it's a shame that you can't get this type of coverage from what news organizations are supposed to cover. Again, going back to that narrative. Here's the part where I'm assuming this is probably body cam footage, police notes, or whatever. But I can tell you some of the cops that showed up probably weren't Andrew Gillum fans, or they're professionals and they don't like to see things swept under the rug. It's a slap in their face when they go lock up other folks who have committed similar crimes, but yet those who are deemed rising stars, progressive saints, they get off. And there's this growing animosity towards our political class to begin with. This guy is nothing. He's unemployed as far as I know, other than he works for CNN. He was a mayor, city council before that. He fell as a governor candidate, as a gubernatorial candidate, and now he does analysis on CNN when it comes to political events. He collects his paycheck and travels without his wife and orders male gay porn stars with the lucrative lifestyle that he's been able to amass himself. Again, without any professional experience to warrant that, other than being an elected official. You do the math on that. So here it is. The sex was suspected between the two because there was blood and feces on the bed. Yes, police were wearing body cams, so this footage will come out. I doubt it. I doubt it will come out. And the article here goes on to show what we already discussed with some of the his past brushes, FBI investigation, receiving gifts, so on and so forth. So again, we're going to go back to why the left-wing media will not cover this. First of all, it brings up memories of other high-profile Democrats. In any case, it's just not a good look for progressives. Though they don't really personally care what Gillum does if he gets caught in a hotel room with a male gay porn star. Hey, man, it's just bad for business. But personally, I don't think they care one way or the other. Just like with the Congress lady out in California who had to resign last year for having thruples, I guess the D word, right? Threesomes with one of her staff, and especially the women, the harpies, these feminists, these fucking women Nazis, circled the wagons around her, as defending her like she's just out there living her best life. And if her and her boyfriend or her husband, wherever he was, and this female staffer, wanted to have orgies and take inappropriate photos with each other, hey, that's their business. No, it's not. It's not. The congressional bylaws, congressional laws, congressional standards, you cannot have relationships with your staff members. You just can't do it. Okay, it's not slut shaming or any other thing. You just can't do that. And frankly, it's a disrespect to the people who elected you. They're not paying you to be a fucking degenerate and have these Tryst in your room, who cares if it's in the privacy of your own home? Fucking be a leader. Be a fucking adult. Don't be a degenerate. Like I said, lack of moral character. And I'm not a preachy guy. I lack moral character in some facets of my life. I've done things, that might make me blush among good company. But shit like this, I wouldn't even be in association with because that's just whatever. It's not my thing. It may be some of yours. I doubt it. Uh, but this is just pathetic. Uh, the point of this is just to show you the absolute difference in coverage and how the media will circle the wagons when it comes to this shit. Again, well connected. Hillary came and campaigned for him. President Obama came and campaigned for him. Here he is, the family man with his child here. Meanwhile, he's actually a gay man. Um, Here he is with his little hat, his little Jewish beanie hat. In any case, I think you guys get the point here. Is um, it's worth it's worth um, it's worth noting because a story like this deserves to be headline news. I'm not saying the world stops because some failed politician got caught with a gay, got caught in a gay trice, drug induced, and that shit happens, and it happens a lot. Probably happens a lot more than we are even told about. He just happened to get caught. But where's the acrimony at? Where is the Where's the focus? It certainly is not here. I know we got coronavirus going on, coronavirus and the outbreak, and we have President Obama, and then or President Trump, and we have the stock market, and we have things that are a little more important than this. I get it. I got it. But specifically speaking, as a duty, an obligation, as journalism and the media, where are they? Why do you have to go and dig for coverage on this? The appropriate coverage on this to give to you. Doesn't the people in Florida wouldn't you think the people in Florida would want to know about this? The money they're giving them? Wouldn't you think CNN would want to know about this? Of course they do. But will CNN fire him? If you got caught doing this, like I said, given the scenario I gave out in Vegas with you and a hooker, and you got caught with this, of course your ass is going to jail again with mugshots. Would your employer want to know about this? I think they would. Would your wife want to know about it? I think they would. I think you'd have no choice in the matter. But we aren't, again, in the political class, and we're certainly not protected. A protected species is a black progressive male. I mean, you're checking all the boxes at this point. You're super victim. You are super victim, and you will be protected. Again, remember I highlighted that little spot that says "Our Movement." Guys, that's just a signal saying, "Hey, you guys got to cover for me. I'm giving you a shout out. You know the words. Help me out here." In any case, here we are. I am curious to hear your thoughts on this. I'd like to know if you have any. Just leave them in the comments. I'd like to know. There's going to be more on this type of stuff, and I might not. I probably won't come back to cover this much more. I've done it. I don't really want to make any videos about this, to be quite honest with you. At the same time, though, guys, it's time to it's really time to start pointing the fingers and calling these people out for this shit, because it certainly would not be the same if, say, Sarah Palin was caught in a situation like or similar to this. She couldn't be caught in a situation like this because, well, she's not a male. um, Ordering a male porn star, gay porn star slash gay prostitute, who posts pornographic videos of him and his gay fiance slash boyfriend in various sexual positions and activities. but it just lends you it makes you wonder just what the hell is going on. Though that question can be quickly answered. It more so. Let me rephrase that. Not just what the hell is going on, but why the hell don't they even care? They're not even trying to hide it at this point. It's their boy, and that's all there is. That's all there is to it. They're going to cover. So we could pivot to Jesse Smollett or whatever Jussie when he beat his own ass in Chicago with presumably with a Subway sandwich, whatever the hell he was up to, was simply caught. The Chicago police were on it within a heartbeat, had it figured out. Cam footage showing me nobody was around but him and a Subway sandwich. He tied a stupid ass noose around his neck. The guy's not fucking bright anyway, just about looking at him. Looks like a fucking idiot. And all charges are mysteriously dropped. Well, now he's going to be back up for investigation with the news. He's going to go to trial, actually. But it just goes to show you that it was dropped, that it was squashed, that it was told to move on. Shows you the type of power um, the political class has and how much influence the media can lend or give a situation based on the focus they give it and the attention they give it or what they choose not to. It's a biased bullshit approach. So in any case, I think you guys get the point here. I just wanted to introduce you to this Andrew Gillum, and I want to hear your thoughts if you have any. This is the first video. There'll be a few more of other ones. So if you want to, you can subscribe as well. We'll play with this and see where this goes. But I am interested in any feedback you guys have. I'd like to know what you think about this, and even beyond the details. What do you think about the media narrative or lack of narrative? And their silence is their disapproval. You don't get to do that. Your silence isn't your disapproval. You're the media. You should cover it, and you owe it to the people of Florida. You owe it to those cops that showed up, that first responders, the EMTs that showed up, to give the details of this. All right, this is Long Days, and I'm out.